All right, Nostalgia is back to give you your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. I am Pat Sheehan. Almost forgot my own name there.
Pat Sheehan I am.
Yeah. I'm here with my co-host Dave Martinson. Dave, last night I watched Frozen. ABC showed it. There was a weird Target play that was going on in between with John Legend and...
Like Target the store?
Yeah, they had a play for the holidays where John Legend played the Rat King in like an adaptation of the Nutcracker. It was very strange. But I got to thinking about Frozen. Is there a bigger kids movie over the last couple years? I mean, Zootopia probably did better in the box office, but thinking about just the overall influence, I mean...
That's a good question.
Frozen has had lasting effect. It's 3 years old.
2013?
Doesn't even seem that old.
14. Inside Out, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than Big Hero 6.
Secret Life of Dogs.
Pets.
Right.
Definitely bigger than that. Bigger than Tangled, which came out beforehand, which Disney had say is better than Frozen.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I haven't even seen Frozen.
Oh, really?
I've wanted to, I've just never seen it.
It's a good movie, and the reason
That's why I want to see it.
The reason I thought it might be a good place to start today is because we're going to be previewing Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which the second installment of Star Wars that has a really strong heroine in leading the cast.
That's right.
Felicity Jones playing Jyn Erso. So we will be getting more into that. We're also going to talk about J. Cole's new album, For Your Eyez Only. Eyes with a Z. I mean, because he's super gangsta now.
Not exactly.
Why don't we start, though, with award season kicked back off, Dave?
Yeah.
Which we started off in the middle of
that?
award season last year, so shout out to us. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah, SoundCloud.com/nostalgiapod.
Yeah,
Episode 1.
Stay plugging.
Oscar 2016 predictions.
Yeah.
If you want to hear how good we did, which we did pretty well.
Yeah, we each had some really good calls, and I think some not so good calls on that one. Critics' Choice Awards, I mean, there's not much to say. La La Land cleaned up. You got 8 awards.
Including Best Picture.
Which, I mean, I haven't seen La La Land yet. It came out this past weekend. We will be eventually talking about that, Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight, when we get around to seeing them. If you want us to be able to see them, tweet at all your favorite sponsors and people that do advertisements so that we can afford to go to all these movies.
Yes. Help us help you.
Yeah. You know what? You guys, we give you this free podcast every week. You guys can tweet at your favorite sponsor, I guess.
And then tweet at us, at NostalgiaPod.
Yeah, include us in there. So yeah, La La Land cleaned up. The People versus OJ also cleaned up, which isn't that like 3 years old now? It feels like it.
I just get really annoyed when movies get awarded after the Oscars and shows get awarded after the Emmys. That's how the stupid award season calendars work.
They're all on their own timeline.
Like the Grammys are in February, like right after the Oscars, but the cutoff to be eligible for those Grammys next year was in September, 5 months earlier. It's so dumb. People vs. OJ still getting awards. I don't think anyone cares about them though, because they already did the Emmy thing.
Right. So
which we did really well with our predictions there. Also find those.
I think you did a little better than I did.
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah, Kate McKinnon also won the Critics' Choice Award this time. So, moving forward, though, the Golden Globes released their list of nominees today. Anything notable in there?
Deadpool, Best Musical/Comedy Film, and Best Actor in Musical/Comedy for Ryan Reynolds.
He's come a long way, man.
He definitely has.
I saw The Proposal last night while flipping through the channels. It was awful.
With Sandra Bullock, that's a bad movie.
And I watched Just Friends on Netflix the other day just to kill the time. It has...
He's been in so many duds, critically and commercially.
Right.
And he was already in superhero jail after Green Lantern, so it's a wonder that he's
really come a long way.
Picked himself back up.
Yeah, and we talked about in the pod how much we both love Deadpool. We thought it was a great movie this year. Very surprising, and well, I don't know about very surprising, but it was pleasantly surprising in terms of how well received it was.
Yeah, well, it's very different.
Absolutely.
You know, people know this by now, but in terms of how it's a different kind of superhero movie and also hilarious. So it's nice to see it actually get some award love. What probably won't win, but that's nice to see.
In the best musical or comedy category, a strange combo.
Yeah.
It gives us a reason, I guess, to actually care about the Golden Globes.
Wait, but La La Land's gonna win that because that's a musical.
Right.
So thanks for coming.
But when you think about the Golden Globes, I think I said it's my favorite one just because they get so drunk. It's a little more loose.
Yes, because no one cares.
But yeah, this actually gives you a reason to be a little bit more invested than normal because
sure.
You want to see Deadpool do well.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like weird things. Like a few years ago, Andy Samberg won for Brooklyn Nine-Nine during its first year, and he said in his speech, "I have nothing prepared. I did not expect this." So there is a little wild cardness to the Golden Globes if you care about that sort of thing.
So we'll be following that, and we'll be cranking up award season on the podcast coming up. We'll also be doing some end of year stuff in the next coming weeks. But why don't we talk about an exciting new trailer that came out? And actually, there were two, so I'll let you pick. Where do you want to start, Dave? Do you want to talk about Spider-Man, or do you want to talk about The Fate of the Furious? Which, just an awesome name.
The Fate of the Furious.
Yeah, why don't we start there?
Let's start at 100.
I mean, what a trailer. That trailer had literally everything you could want.
Shout out Charlize Theron.
Yes.
A Academy Award winner, making out with Dom Toretto, and walking white girl dreads.
She's a goddess, man. I mean,
Mad Max killed it.
Yeah, everything she's in, she's fantastic.
Even Snow White in the Winter's War, in the Huntsman, whatever. She's
just amazing. But yeah, when I saw her in those dreads, I was like,
it's like Angelina Jolie and Gone in 60 Seconds. It's just like, wow, okay, sure.
that interesting comparison. I don't even know if I've seen that movie, but
it's with Nick Cage. You probably didn't see it.
I'm not gonna watch a Nick Cage Angelina Jolie movie. But this trailer was just absurd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything about it has all the cast members pretty much coming back together. That
all of them except for Paul Walker, obviously.
Paul Walker.
Rip.
It did show a picture of him too, and how Vin Diesel is going against his family now as a. I don't know. Apparently, Charlize Theron has some kind of dirt on him or something she can hold over him.
I don't think he's going full bad guy, but I think it's a nice angle for the franchise. It's just funny that we're still calling the trailer absurd because in Fury 7, they jump a Lamborghini or some fancy sports car through not one but two skyscrapers in Dubai.
But Dave, what about that submarine though?
What's Ludacris say? It's like, we have a tank now or something. It's like...
I think there's a part where Taye Diggs is driving and they're like, why are they shooting only at me? And they're like, maybe it's because you're in the orange Lamborghini.
You mean Tyrese Gibbs?
Tyrese Gibbs, yeah.
Roman Pierce. He's like the comedic relief for the franchise.
So it was just, there's so many, I mean, even the part where they all shoot, I don't even know.
Some kind of like cables.
Yeah, into Vin Diesel's car and he somehow pulls away and makes awesome. It's amazing. So
my favorite thing about the Fast and the Furious franchise and its various names for each movie is that this thing was dead multiple times because Too Fast, Too Furious is the worst movie in the franchise, the second movie. And then Tokyo Drift brings it back and says, oh, there's something here. And then Fast and Furious, the fourth one, where they bring back Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez, also really bad. But what happens? Fast 5 comes out in 2011 with The Rock, and it's never been better. And then from there, it just became a full-fledged action series. So shout out The Rock for saving this and making it. I mean, Furious 7 was $1 billion movie. It's just crazy how far it's come, and crazy over-the-top action movies, and they're really fun.
The Rock could save anything. I mean, he probably will be our next president, and he should be, because I think he can pretty much do anything he wants.
Speaking of The Rock, this was not on our list, but did you see the Baywatch trailer?
No.
Oh, it's so awesome.
Is he in Baywatch?
Yes, it's him and Zac Efron.
What?
And I'll tell you, it looks great. I was more excited about it than the Spidey trailer.
I did not. Wow. I wish you had sent that to me. I need to watch that literally right after we're done recording. That sounds very exciting.
Do you want to watch it now?
That's so ridiculous. All right, and we're back. I just watched the Baywatch trailer, and it is fantastic. The good thing about that trailer, just my initial reaction, it doesn't try anything other than basically 22 Jump Street on the beach.
Yeah, sub out Tatum and Jonah Hill for The Rock and Zac Efron.
Yeah, and you put a lot of hot girls around them.
Yeah.
It looks pretty perfect for what it is, so that's very exciting. Why don't we talk about Spider-Man, though? Because I thought that was a really good trailer.
It was good, yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, there's a lot to pick apart with it.
I think everyone's just so happy that we finally have a teenager playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Playing Peter Parker and Tom Holland. Because Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were both in their late 20s when they started the role, and in their 30s when they stopped. And then also Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark looks like he'll be a great presence in the film, just building off that chemistry they had in Civil War.
Yeah.
So it looks fun.
That was my initial reaction, because pretty early on you see Tony Stark and Peter Parker interacting, and I was like, I wonder if he's actually going to fight alongside Spider-Man at any point. Yeah. And then at the end, it shows them flying out together. So there was some kind of...
They won't let him steal the show like that, but he'll be in there.
Yeah, and I thought it was the kind of the perfect tone, too, because you see Tony Stark, he goes to let him out the car, and Peter Parker gives him a hug, and he's like, I was not giving you a hug, I was just letting you out the door. It has, like, the pretty perfect comic relief to it, but, like, the mentor-mentee trying to prove himself. Michael Keaton also seems like he's...
Yeah, Vulture's rocking some Green Goblin garb.
Yeah.
By the look of it with his technology and stuff.
And just I think the tone, like you hear Keaton saying, "Don't get in my way, or I'll kill you and everybody you love," or something like that. It sounds like he's going to a pretty creepy place. Which,
yeah, I just still can't get over how ironic it is that Birdman's playing a superhero again. Also, hopefully, we're not gonna get the Uncle Ben death again. Doesn't look like we're gonna get it because we already saw him in Civil War. We'll see.
Everybody knows at this point. We already talked about this.
It's like Batman's parents. We get it. We understand.
We know.
Did you like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man? Because I did.
I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah. Honestly, he was not the problem with those movies. First, I thought the first one was really good, The Amazing Spider-Man. But I think Sony kind of dicked him over by trying to make their own universe. They're like, oh, we have a Sinister Six movie. Let's plug all these little things in there. And then Jamie Foxx's Electro was awful. But I liked Garfield. I thought him and Emma Stone had great chemistry, which is probably why they started dating. But I kind of feel bad for him because it wasn't really his fault. The movies they moved on from him.
I don't think it was his fault. I also feel like I'm okay with them moving on from him.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean now it's back with Marvel Studios running it alongside Sony,
right?
Which is obviously great. Everyone wants that. If only X-Men would somehow have that happen as well.
And it's pretty clear that this is taking place after the Avengers Civil War.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Because he recognizes all the Avengers, says, hey, you aren't the guys I know at the very beginning of the thing, which is pretty funny. It sounds like this is going to be a good reboot, so I'm excited for that. Something I was not as excited for, at least compared to your excitement, was J. Cole's new album, For Your Eyez Only. And I listened to most of the songs this past weekend. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I thought it was still very well done.
So, I wouldn't even go that far.
You wouldn't say it was very well done?
I think it's very ambitious. I think it's kind of sloppy, though. It's a concept album to a fault. About what? Tons of important themes in there, right?
Yeah,
talks about fatherhood, which Jacob's got a kid. There you go. Yeah, mass incarceration, toxic masculinity, like tough guys, police brutality, a lot of personal things in general and how like love can help you get through all this heavy shit in the world. But I don't know, I just felt like some of his bars were just a little. He's always been a little corny sometimes, but I don't know. It didn't really grab me. The album. I think Neighbors is the best song on the project, which has the best beat too. It's like subtle drum roll with a really good bass line, and that's about basically J. Cole moved into like a white affluent neighborhood, and the neighbors thought he was selling drugs. So he's like, yeah, no matter how successful I am, no matter the fact that Obama plays my album, people still are gonna racially profile me. Basically, what he's getting at. But other than that, none of the songs really jumped out at me. I gotta listen to it again. But it's just not as enjoyable to listen to as 2014 Forest Hills Drive, which also had some heavy shit on there as well.
I did, actually, the first note I wrote when I was writing down my thoughts for this was just a bunch of Z's, because when I was listening to it, I felt like I pretty much zoned out. I wasn't even really listening to what was being said. I kind of just listening to it as background music.
Yeah.
When I say I thought it was well done, I thought the instruments were actually really good touch.
I mean, he is a producer too. He has a good ear for beats.
And when I was reading up some background, I guess he actually really got involved with how he wanted it to sound. He was playing some of the instruments himself, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't know J. Cole was that involved in the production of his music.
Definitely has been.
Two songs that I thought really stood out to me was Change and Folding Clothes, which I think it was just because Change was probably the song that I thought was most meaningful on the album, or at least touched on maybe the most broad topic that I think most people can relate to in terms of social justice and racial profiling, things like that. And then Folding Clothes, I thought was just kind of an interesting
That song's
metaphor.
corny as fuck, dude.
Oh, it is, but I thought it was an interesting metaphor because I was like, you're talking about folding clothes.
Where people stand on folding clothes is kind of where I think you can talk about this album, because Folding Clothes is really a sloppy song. He's like basically like, I want to do my laundry for my girl because I'm about that. I'm a lover. Blah blah blah. I was like, bro, we don't give participation medals just because you tried to be lyrical. I just don't think you didn't really say anything that great because you want to do the laundry because your girl's taking a nap. Like that's fine.
David,
your girl can take a nap. Everyone's entitled to naps, but I don't know. I just think J. Cole missed the mark on this album.
You sound disappointed, Dave.
I am very disappointed. I'm not going to go back to this. It's not that fun to listen to. 2014 has Wet Dreams, Tale of Two Cities, No Role Models, Fire Squad, and Get Off My Dick. Awesome songs you can listen to as singles. They also flow into the album. A lot of them say a lot of good stuff on there, important things. And he doesn't really have a song like that besides Neighbors.
I was going to ask, what is the single off this album? Deja Vu?
Probably. But the funny thing about Deja Vu is that's the same exact beat that Bryson Tiller uses on Exchange, which is already a huge hit for him. So I was like, You know better than that. Also, False Prophets, we talked about last week.
Right, and then
SoundCloud.com/nostalgiapod. That's the same beat that Joey Badass has for Waves, which is one of his best songs. Badass tweeted that he gave him the blessing months ago to use the beat, but using Bryson Tiller's Exchange beat on your commercial album, questionable. And like False Prophets and Everybody Dies, they're not on this album. Yeah. It wouldn't even make sense in terms of the flow. I'm just disappointed in it just because like I see what you were trying to do here, and I just think he's varying levels of success in terms of the message he's trying to convey. I saw it written that he'd make a good uncle one day in terms of the way he tells stories, because sometimes he's not that good at it. But like you understand what he's trying to do.
That's actually a really funny observation. I guess I would have to listen a little bit closer, and maybe it was because I did really find myself not being totally invested in the album, and that was probably also partially because I'm not a huge J. Cole fan.
I need to listen to it again, but my first listen and a half, I'm disappointed. It's fine. Here's the thing, it's still a good album, and in terms of the J. Cole like pantheon of projects, it's probably his second best album. But that also goes into my critique of J. Cole's ridiculous fans that worship everything he's ever done. Mm-hmm. And this is an ambitious project. I'm not saying it's not ambitious, and it's great that we have lyrical songs tackling important issues and themes.
Right.
And J. Cole is not shy about the fact that he cares about important stuff, and he kind of hates his celebrity and things like that. But there's also something that needs to be said for executing. And I just don't think he did that, whether it's filler bars or just the song not coming together. So, disappointed, but yeah, let us know what you think.
Do you think sonically it was as sloppy as you feel like the lyrics were?
I mean, sonically it flows fine. None of the beats jump off the page, but none of the beats are necessarily bad. I mean, like, again, Deja Vu, it's a beat that I've heard before, but I'm not going to hold that against him in terms of sonics. To Pimp a Butterfly for Kendrick Lamar, one of Cole's good friends, contemporaries, they're often compared hand in hand in terms of lyrical rappers of substance.
Right.
All of his songs on To Pimp a Butterfly and even Good Kid, Mad City that try and tackle something, you understand what he was tackling and they do it well. Where Cole, I feel like he kind of like runs through the bush. He doesn't really get into it, or he tries to, but for whatever reason it just doesn't come out well. It's funny because if you read any comment section on his reviews out there or review video or something, you'll see this. You'll see people that want to love it for what he's trying to do and will defend him because they love defending Cole, and people that will just overly criticize him. I think I'm just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you sound pretty meh on it.
I am.
Meh. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you were disappointed by this album, Dave. I know that you really like J. Cole, but you have a lot of good other good albums this year that you can turn back to and forget that this album ever happened if you like. So
I've talked about a lot of hip hop in the past year on the show, and I'm usually pretty positive. So I feel like this is one of the projects I'm most negative on. And again, it's all relative. This is per J. Cole standards.
Right. Compared to other rappers, this would be above the average bar.
I'm going to put out a list, like a comprehensive power rank of all the hip-hop albums I listened to this year. All of them.
Okay.
It's like, 20-something albums probably.
I thought you were saying all the albums that came out this year. I was like, that's very ambitious.
Oh, no.
But moving on to something that I think we can both agree we're very excited for, unlike the J. Cole album. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Gareth Edwards, the Don. Actually, looking at his list, I don't know if I've watched any of the movies that he's directed.
You didn't see Godzilla?
No. I'm not a big monster movie guy. Although I do have to say, probably one of my favorite scary movies was Cloverfield. So take that for what it's worth.
There you go.
But no, I did not see Godzilla. It seems like he does large scale well if he did Godzilla. So I feel like it's in capable hands. But we talked about how there were reshoots, some problems on set.
Problems on set. There were reshoots, like most big movies with budgets.
I think we shared with the last trailer, we both had mixed reactions to it. You seemed much more positive than I was.
You were just looking to hate.
Hate. I was looking to hate. I was also, I think, looking to temper expectations for myself. But based off the early reviews, it seems like this movie's gonna do very well and be very well received.
2 tweets I want to read from the premiere. One is from Anthony Bresnikan. He is a writer for Entertainment Weekly, does all their Star Wars coverage. It's a great follow if you like him, at Bresnikan. I expected it to be funny. I didn't expect to be choked up. Moments of true bravery and some speeches we need right now. #Rogue One. Another one. Terry Schwartz from IGN, another person I like to follow. She also does a lot of good Game of Thrones coverage. Gotta emphasize that it's a dark. This is a war movie. It puts the wars in Star Wars to make a bad pun. #Rogue One. And then even Kevin Smith, who everyone knows. Holy Sith. Rogue One movie is unbelievably wonderful. No lie, it is Empire Strikes Back great. An excellent chapter in the Star Wars universe. And there's a lot of similar takes from industry professionals. Now, I believe the review embargo breaks Tuesday. So by the time you're hearing this, the reviews will be out there. I'll definitely be avoiding reading those until I see it. But it doesn't look like I will be disappointed in what they say because it's supposed to be fantastic. And I'm very excited.
Based off these initial reactions, I'm very excited too. Why don't we give a little bit of background on what this is going to be? If you've been living under a rock, Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yeah. If you live under a rock and somehow listen to us and learn all these woke things we tell you, good job on you, I guess. I don't know. That's hard to do.
Basically, it's a war story about stealing the Death Star plan so that the Rebel Alliance in A New Hope can destroy the Death Star.
If we recall, in A New Hope, we see the opening crawl, when the text goes across the screen to start the movie.
Which will not be happening in this movie for the first time ever in a Star Wars movie.
In that opening crawl, the very first sentence, very first passage, says that, paraphrase it, the rebels have won their first battle against the Empire and have stolen the plans to their new secret battle station, the Death Star. We're seeing that battle in this movie. The movie starts with Princess Leia's Corellian Corvette being chased by that Star Destroyer. When you first see her ship and then have that massive shot of how big the Star Destroyer is compared to it. She has the plans on her ship. We are seeing how the plans get onto her ship, which is the first freaking frame of the first Star Wars movie.
Darth Vader says, "Tell me where the rebel plans are."
Yeah.
Which is also very cool that James Earl Jones is playing the voice of Darth Vader so many years later.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
He's great.
And one of the tweets that was out there mentioned Darth Vader has a very menacing moment or something.
Yeah, true moment of horror. I think it's
true moment of horror. Which, I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, you gotta be really excited to see that.
Yep.
But it has a pretty good, but not a very well-known cast. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen is probably the biggest star. Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. Yep. Cool thing about Forrest Whitaker, we might have mentioned this before. He's
Butler.
Butler, Last King of Scotland, he won an Oscar for. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's playing a character called Saw Gerrera, and Saw Gerrera was a character we first saw in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the cartoon. He's the first cartoon, which is also canon for Star Wars, first cartoon character to be in a movie. And they said that they weren't just doing it to shoehorn, but it made sense narratively. So that's really cool. So I actually watched his episodes for Clone Wars over the weekend just to get in the mood. So,
get in the mood.
Yeah, he's like, in Clone Wars, he's like a freedom fighter kind of deal. So we'll see what he has in store, probably helping Jin and crew, something along those lines.
Funny, quick Forrest Whitaker side note: when a couple of years back, you can take your face and it'll tell you what celebrity you look most like. Forrest Whitaker is my #1 match almost every single time.
I see it.
Which I don't know if I should be offended or very excited. But yeah, so the lead, I alluded to it earlier, Felicity Jones playing Jyn Erso.
From Theory of Everything, obviously, with Eddie Redmayne, the Golden Boy.
She's also in an episode of Girls.
She's been in a lot of stuff. She's, I think, 32, so she's been around, but this is her, obviously, her breakout hit.
Diego Luna, I mean, he's been around since the 90s doing stuff.
I think he's been more of a character actor before. I'm not familiar with any of his movies.
Yeah, he plays Cassian Andor.
Cassian Endor or something
Cassian
like that?
Endor, okay.
Ensor, something like that?
Tom, or should I say Ben Mendelsohn? I always get him confused. I think I haven't said his name correctly ever on this show.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn from Bloodline fame.
Place Beyond the Pines.
Character actor has been a lot of stuff. Also in The Dark Knight Rises,
yes,
which
he is
a great scene when Bane's like, "Do you feel like you're in control?" And
what's his name? Begins with a D or something.
Davik.
Daya.
It's John Daggett.
Daggett?
Yeah, John Daggett. There you go.
Yeah, something like that. It's cool because he's a great example of that actor you've seen before, but you didn't know who he was or why he was good then.
Right.
So then you rewatch the movie, you're like, oh, that guy's in this? Next time I see Dark Knight Rises, I'll say that.
So, yeah, Ben Mendelsohn is playing the big bad Orson Krennic.
Yep, director Krennic.
Which, if there's one person who has to go up against Darth Vader, Ben Mendelsohn might be the perfect person to play that, because he plays like that slow, just kind of like underneath rage that comes out in like those little looks or like a sneer he can give you, probably better than anybody else right now.
If we recall, he won the Emmy for Bloodline and he wasn't even there.
he was probably in Australia living the life. And then Riz MC is in this. Not the actual duo, but Riz Ahmed from The Night Of.
Yep,
apparently his role was rewritten to have more lines and more backstory, which is really good. He's playing
the pilot,
Boda Rood.
Something like that, yeah. We don't know yet. We don't know how the pronunciation goes.
Yeah, and then Mads Mikkelsen plays Jyn Erso's dad.
Yeah, apparently Krennic goes to him because he helped Galen in the past, and like Galen owes him a favor more or less. So it's not so much that he's gonna kidnap Galen or so, but more as like, hey, we know you're good at this. Is a good opportunity for you. Help me, help you. Somewhere along those lines. And of course, Alan Tudyk does the mocap for that droid. I don't remember the name.
Which he might be the best voice actor out there right now.
Oh yeah, you look at Alan Tudyk's Wikipedia. It is huge. He's everywhere.
I was actually thinking about it last night because I was looking at the Frozen cast, like reading through all the people.
He's one of the snowmen, right?
No, he's not the snowman. That's
Josh Gad.
Yeah, Josh Gad. He plays a guy from Weaselton.
Oh, okay.
But his voice, you would never know it was him.
Really good.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously got his start with, I think, Firefly. He might have actually been around before.
Firefly Knight's Tale. He was Steve the Pirate in Dodgeball.
I mean, he's so good at the voice acting stuff. I think he's gonna kill it in K2SO or something like that.
Yeah. Apparently, again from those early tweets, Alan Tudyk's K2SO and Donnie Yen's character steal the show. Apparently.
That's awesome.
I'm really excited, man.
The cool thing about the cast too is it's the Rebel Alliance, right? So it's all these different species coming together to fight against the Empire, and it's kind of reflected in the cast. I mean, Riz Ahmed is Middle Eastern descent.
He's Pakistani,
I think. Yeah, and then you have
Donnie Yen's Asian.
Yeah, you have
his
Diego Luna.
Yeah, and Donnie Yen's compatriot, the guy with the red armor.
Right.
Also not a white guy, so.
Forrest Whitaker. So there's a ton of diversity within the cast.
And in the trailer, you'll see other aliens with the rebels, which in all the books and other materials, you always knew that the rebels were a cross-species organization, but in the movies, you really only saw humans except for the Admiral Akbar. You know, usually it was just humans. So that'd be cool to see because this is right before A New Hope, so this is the rebels, you know, at their biggest and, you know, soon to be strongest. So they've been going around for a while, so we'll really get put right in the middle of that.
There's also that one pilot, right, who was like kind of a fish species.
Oh yeah, right? Nien Nunb. So Celestin, yeah. He rides in the Falcon with Lando.
Yeah.
He was in Force Awakens too. He was in one of the X-wings at the end.
Yeah, he was. That was a great callback. Force Awakens was really well done.
So good.
I watched it.
I'm gonna rewatch it again.
I think I watched it 2 months ago, and I was like, this is a very watchable movie over and over.
I just am obsessed with Adam Driver's Kylo Ren. Just a fantastic character. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about him.
Why don't we break this down into what are you most and least excited for with this movie?
Yeah, so given all the...
I mean, so just to preface this conversation, we know somewhat of how the ending is. We're not going to know exactly what happens to all the characters, but we know they get the plans.
Right.
So
and then they destroy the Death Star in the next movie.
Right. And the only other thing we know, I guess, from the tweets is the third act is apparently incredible. I mean, I'm guessing that's good. Probably the heist
because
part.
Some movies, the third act is bad and falls apart. So that's great to hear.
So it'll be a build-up. So, yeah, bringing in all the context here, what are you most and least excited for with this movie?
Yeah, given the first impressions, they're saying that there's a lot of moments that Star Wars fans will lose their mind, but also people will be surprised. I just really want to see what they have in store for us because when we first had this movie pitched, we're like, dark war movie. And I said before, most of these people are going to die. I just don't see how they don't, right?
There's actually, I think, a scene in the trailers.
And like Vader probably will be helped caused now with this scene of horror, whatever it is. I'm sure it's affecting some of this crew.
Sure.
So just seeing Star Wars at its, its darkest, and we always knew these kind of things happened in that, such a fully fledged universe, but we never really saw it per se because we were, following the main story. I just want to see this go down, man. I'm really excited.
I think that's a really great point because as I was thinking about this, I was also thinking about the Han Solo movie, which is the only other confirmed Star Wars spin-off movie happening at this point. And the tones are going to be very different. I see this a lot more as like a Saving Private Ryan.
Putting the wars in Star Wars.
And Han Solo is a lot more like, I'm expecting to be a lot more like Deadpool in a way.
Sure.
Where it's going to be funny, witty.
Yeah. We're following a Dash character that we know is not dying in it.
Right.
And, Lando also, same boat. So that's more about the camaraderie, maybe buddy copness, who knows.
And
the wars, we'll see.
I think what's exciting about it is basically the main trilogies have a recipe to them in a way. Like, you're going to see certain things.
You're following the Skywalker story.
Exactly.
All 7.
This is moving into a territory where it can really make these things any way it wants to. It doesn't need to follow a specific plot line. I mean, you already know what's going to happen in this one, so you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want between point A and point B. It's just how much fun are you going to make it to get there?
Well, and seeing Vader, fuck shit up too.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Like we've seen in the comics and stuff, but like really seeing it on screen.
Yeah, there's that.
Seeing him at his full villainy, would be really something.
Right, between the end of the first, I guess the first three and then the last three of the original trilogy before The Force Awakens, there's that huge gap, so you don't even really know what things look like then. I mean, you have some sort of idea that Vader and Palpatine are taking control of the Empire and or
it's like
space.
Well, it's like a 18-year gap because Luke is born and then he's a young man.
So what's Vader doing at that time? Just murking people every day?
Well, he's working on the rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you're not excited for?
Probably not, man. No, I mean the only thing I wouldn't be excited for is being disappointed, or seeing something that would just be, because
I am not excited to be disappointed.
Yeah,
that's a great line.
But I mean, given all this extensive praise so far, I'm not worried.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
It's interesting because hearing these reviews made me rethink why I didn't like the second trailer, and I think the main thing I talked about was we didn't need to have this extra family story to drive the plot.
Mm-hmm.
There's already a reason to drive the plot, but it sounds like the way that these things tie in is more in a way to give depth to Jyn Erso's character than anything else.
So I'm pretty sure is what I said last time.
So Dave, you were right.
Again, we'll see how that goes, though. That could very well be something that only kind of works,
Yeah.
We'll see.
The good news is it sounds like the action parts are going to be pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing if they had to do the reshoots, and this is my conspiracy theory thought today in the shower, maybe it was too dark at first, and they were like,
maybe
we still need to sell action figures to this. We still need kids to be accessible to this.
Yeah, and they said Tony Gilroy was working on the ending among the things he was working on.
Interesting.
When he came in to help with the reshoots. So,
which is actually a really good sign then. If that third act is that good and he was helping the ending, that means the reshoots probably really worked.
He made $5 million off all this work.
Damn.
Reshooting.
I wish I could make $5 million off coming in to clean up somebody's mess.
Pretty crazy.
That'd be great. So we will be talking about Rogue One next week. Maybe some other movies, year in review stuff.
Yeah, we got some power ranks. We got some 2016 year in review things to do for sure.
So we'll be talking about all of that and more on next week's Nostalgia. In the meantime, talk with us on Twitter at NostalgiaPod. Dave is at Martin Swagger. I am at Sheeny World Peace. Follow us SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever else.
And tune in.
Yeah, tune in. There you go.
Don't leave tuning out.
I know, poor tune in. I always forget that. Dave, any last words for this week's show?
Just search your feelings, Pat. You know the movie's going to be good.
It's going to be fantastic. We'll be talking about it next week. See you then. The Force is strong with you.